Looking at about a minute and a half, and I think that's too much. This rider is free to fly right now. He's in the colours of his team from Belgium. Lloyd has already left Youngwood. He called him through there with a flick of the elbow to do some work. He has all the time in the world here, and there's a huge crowd welcoming him home. Let's have a little wave to complete the day, and there it is. And now he has nailed down a big championship result as he winds down now with a welcome from the family. It's all done and dusted. 163 very fast kilometres today, and the most coveted national jersey in Australian road cycling going on the shoulders of 24-year-old Matthew Lloyd from Victoria. And the photo decided at centimetre in favour of Adam Hansen in second, and Rory Sutherland taking the third place.
His teammates. The thing about a sprinter, Phil, is you cannot panic and put yourself into the red zone. Now it's Matty Lloyd's turn to have a little go off the front.
Matty Lloyd here, he dances on those pedals. He is a brilliant climber, and he's really developing into a top pro now. These two going clear, and there's still the infighting behind with Lance Armstrong, Michael Rogers, and dangling behind that group is Alan Davis.
Coming up to the top of the climb, little acceleration just for pride. They're nowhere in the King of the Mountains competition, but Matty Lloyd gets himself maximum points there at the top of Wollonga Hill.
That's a nice finish by Matthew Lloyd for the Silence Lotto team, the Belgian squad.
Nous avons également Matthew Lloyd, champion d'Australie en 2008. Il avait connu le podium au Tour des Midi, un rouleur.
Good morning, Mars. Matthew Lloyd joining me today on Dom Pod, my first guest. What an absolute joy to see you, mate. How are you?
Good, Dom. It's magic to be here today. Huge honour for me.
Well, the honour and privilege is all mine. How are you, Mossy? How are you today?
Yeah, I'm really, really good. The weather's nothing spectacular, but you get that sometimes.
Fuck, we're talking about the weather already.
Yeah. But I mean, if it's brittle and cold, then, it's not a user-friendly environment. So, otherwise I'm tip-top.
You are tip-top. You look amazing. I'm so excited for you. 2025 has just been out the gate for you. That is your speed. I've just been following your journey since we were really young, for the benefit of our incredible audience. You and I go way, way back. In fact, I have a little picture for you just to kick things off. You haven't seen this picture before. I don't think you've seen this picture before ever. And I really want to see your reaction. I'll post it online so everyone can see. I reckon I'm a teenager because we met working at the cinema, and you were a little bit older, starting your impressive cycling career, which we'll get into. But first, I just thought, for the mems, as the young'uns say, we've got to keep it cool. We're a bit older now.
Yeah.
All right, mate. Are you ready? Note the Fujifilm case, old school.
Yeah, it's going deep.
What do you see? with you and I.
Well, I see someone optimistic and gleeful at life in yourself. And I'd see an utterly lost individual, clueless, staring into what seems to be the abyss. I've got literally no idea what's going on, which doesn't surprise me.
What's that T-shirt you're wearing? Is that a
Something
cycling?
Swiss.
Oh,
I think, given the fact that my face is partially burnt, one would suggest
you
that
see the other one.
I'd started in like potentially an endurance sports capacity, but having fond memories of the purchase of that shirt. It was just one of those happenstance moments where something jumps out at you. And at that point in time, I had no idea what it meant, but it looked somewhat cool.
I just love this, Mossy, because for me, what I see is when we met. I see me with a really shitty half-shaved head and an undercut and lopsidedness because I was like in my goth punk era, but learning that I had to be employable, right? This must have been at my birthday at the bowling thing.
Yeah.
At the height of our looseness as young teens, and you looking pretty sporty and probably wondering why the fuck you're there partying with us when you could be out developing your incredible athletic career.
Well, yeah, one would suggest, like, retrospect is a magical thing, but I look borderline malnourished. Whether or not that had any bearing on what I was doing at that point in time is anyone's guess. But yeah, so deep and entrenched in my memory of those times, and just the closeness that we had by proxy to the fact that we were just working in the same place at the same time. Magic. Purely magic.
It was. I used to wear Dunlop volleys to the cinema. You did too.
Yeah.
We were always in black. We were metalheads. We were punks. We loved our sport. We liked to party hard.
Yeah.
And we were like, friendship, immediately. And you were like, unbeknownst to me, becoming this incredible superstar. I feel like I'm ready. I'm gonna like, compressing your list of achievements is, it's difficult for me because there's just so much there that I want to say about how fucking amazing you are as a human without like starting to get emotional already. Oh, don't cry. But when I actually like read this back to you, knowing your journey, where you are today, what you've been coming out with publicly in 2025, fuck man, like, forgive me if I get emotional. Let's go. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
From 2005 until 2010, you were a Victorian and Australian Institute of Sport scholarship holder. Between 2005 to 2014, you competed in over 15 cycling Grand Tours. You represented Australia at the Beijing 2008 Olympics in road cycling. Memories. You're the 2008 Australian National Road Race Champion. You're a 3-time Tour de France competitor in 2009, 2010 and 2012. You're a 6-time Giro Italia competitor, including a stage winner and the first Australian Mountains classification winner in 2010. You're a 4-time Vuelta a España competitor. You've got a Master of Sports Psychology. You've got 2 BAs, the second majoring in criminal justice. Love that. And you've got a Management of Co-occurring Alcohol and Other Drug and Mental Health Condition certification. And here you are, just like sitting here. Amazing. I'm so excited. As a 2025, for lack of a better phrase, you've come out publicly to discuss your very intense battles with addictions, rehabilitation, and recovery. I'd suggest the audience listen to 2 podcasts that you've been on this year as a bit of like a further backstory. Ryan Gonsalvi's podcast called Second Wind, that interview earlier in the year. It's really fascinating. Hits a lot of key points with you that I really loved that I didn't know about from an inner world of cycling. And the Domestiques podcast interview. So that was somewhat recently, I think maybe 3 months ago. Super powerful, super powerful. I've prepared some questions for this moment. As I've listened to the podcast, as I've threaded in our personal history of what I've known about you behind the scenes, behind the media, behind the camera, as one of your best mates, and that you were married to another one of my best mates too, I formulated questions that I've meditated on for months that I hope that you'll feel comfortable sharing with us. My heart race is going right now. Like it's up.
Your heart race?
My heart race. I say some wacky things,
I've
but
never heard that before.
my heart race is going up.
No, I feel for that.
It's racing.
100%. It's yeah. There's a lot of meaning to what you've put together, and knowing the questions, knowing you as a person, speaks volumes to itself even before having heard the questions, because we share so much time and livelihood together. So yeah, I'm open to anything.
Well, thank you. And thank you for allowing me to come in this level of preparedness. Like, it was really important for me. We riff all the time. We had the best conversation in the car ride here and in the coffee shop beforehand, but it's like, this is what I want to share publicly with your permission. So I have to remind myself, I'm a qualified counsellor, but I'm not in a counselling session. I'm not approaching this from any other angle as someone who loves you so much and gives a fuck about your journey and who you are today and your story. So let's go. You've been through the absolute ringer in terms of injuries that you've detailed in these prior interviews and over the course of your career, ranging from multiple crashes, horrific shoulder and elbow injuries, debilitating pneumonia, septicemia, which is blood poisoning as a result of high altitude training, head injuries from being hit by cars, and something that I clarified with you was you've technically died. All of this leads up to probably the most devastating moment in your career, which is the hit and run incident, August 7th, 2014. Cedar City in Utah, America, while you were contracted to a major cycling team over there. This results in a smashed pelvis, multiple broken bones, loss of several organs, and a traumatic brain injury. There's really no words to describe what that was like to receive that notification that this had happened to you. Just horror, like nothing horror, just extreme anxiety, right? Between like the time zone differences and trying to get further information, well, of course, the media comes out with a statement, don't they? Lloyd hit by car in Utah. Rider recovering in hospital, right? And so, of course, like team managers, they're pretty well versed in what to say, right? Don't say much, give them the facts, right? Okay, so that's all good. So I get a little bit more info there, right? But what I really want to ask you today is that, did you get a sense that any of these big cats in the cycling world actually gave a fuck about what had happened to you as a human? Did you get the sense that they were there for you, that they swept in and that their support would be a long time thing? Or did it feel transactional, like, boom, they're on to the next rider. That's business. That's money. When the wheels are churning with an ass on the seat, we're profiting, blah, blah, blah.
Well, to be honest, the fact that the gravity of the incident was at a magnitude which didn't so much warrant my value of rehabilitation in a sense of putting me back into a racing environment. It was a matter of me existing or not. Separates the two because there's a duality of someone's life, and then the other side of the coin is to potential rehabilitation to race again. So they had obviously had to draw a line and say, is he alive? Yes or no? Is he in good hands? Yes or no? And that was just the facts of the matter were, regardless of what the incident was, they made sure that I was alive. From a director's point of view, they came to the hospital, made sure that the police were covering all the bases that needed to be addressed and that the family was informed. And all the duty of care facts that you would anticipate and expect to take place in that situation. Anything more than that I would have been demanding would have been things that they potentially wouldn't have been able to handle purely because of the magnitude of the incident. And when it comes to a situation in which I may or may not have been injured in a potential case where I could have returned to the sport or things of that matter, in this instance, I don't really think that they were relevant because I was just written off like, you know, alive or dead, which is part of the deal sometimes because when, you know...
What do you mean by that part of the deal?
Well, when you're looking at things from a, you know, I hate to say it, from a professional business perspective, you know, I've had things that are operating or things that aren't. And, you know, with all care and concern for me as a human still being there, that was all good. But from a perspective of, you know, is he going to win some races next week? I don't think so. So, you know, you got to draw a line somewhere. And it'd be asking too much of myself to say, oh, where didn't they provide things? Because they were fine. And, you know.
What about your peers in the community?
Well, that's another factor to this where I became so quiet about what had unfolded for me. Didn't really feel it necessary to publicise the fact that I had been struck by the car and been injured significantly, and all the factors that led up to that instance taking place, that avoidant mechanism and the things that sort of put blockage to me, letting it be known to the people closest to me and the community in general, really meant that no one was informed. And at the time, that was just fine by me because I could be by myself with my family and the people who knew actually knew.
So fair to say that you felt like people did care then?
Oh, people cared, but whether I let them in was a different.
I get that. I think from previous conversations that we've had, maybe I got the memo or the feeling from you that people just went, poof, disappeared. But that's not the case. Just clarifying. In this moment.
No, I think it's more to say that when people found that they couldn't really be of assistance, whether that be due to the distance involved, due to the gravity of the incidents themselves, and the incapacity of people to provide, whether it be manual or psychological aid, there's a natural tendency for people to be overwhelmed and feel that there's a lack of utility in them trying to help out or reach out.
They just simply don't know what to do, because for many people there's no rule book for what to do in such a horrific situation. But I often feel that the professionals should know what to do a bit better. And I've often heard that they fall short. But hey, I'm not going to go on a wild rant today about that. This is about you. Mossy, I don't believe you've ever been asked this question before publicly. The driver who hit you, his story from denial to eventual prison time is a chapter you haven't expanded on, right? Like, we've had some coffees. We've talked about this. Beyond the physical injuries, how did confronting or avoiding, we're good at both, the reality affect your recovery? So like your trust in people, your willingness to put yourself back in the public world after such a horrific, traumatic event. I always think about this driver and the relationship that you have or haven't got with that human, right? Can you talk to me about that and the years of processing?
I think the closest thing that I had to communication was following the incident. The victim impact statement, which is meant to provide the opportunity to, I suppose, give a sense to victims the ramifications of what have taken place for individuals who have been in sufferance of different events. For me, I found it really crucial during this time to provide my forgiveness to the individual, because for what took place within my control and my accountability took place up until the point in which we met. And that was just situational. The fact that he did drive away afterwards and the evidence that he provided following are so far from my control that whether my decision-making process or blame is placed upon the individual has no bearing on what happens in the future, because he will still have to rest with that at the end of time. So for what it was worth for me, I had to know that within my parameters, I could control and be accountable for my movements. And for whatever reason and whatever set of circumstances led up to the events taking place the way that they did, could not have taken place within my locus So, interestingly enough, I didn't find it. I didn't find it to be as significant a factor as other people did, I found.
That's interesting.
Because it's very easy for people to, I think, have events taking place when they are not within our control and seek retribution or live in a sense of hostility or anger. But for me, that was just energy that I couldn't quite possibly allocate to an individual who I'd never met before, and just happened to be at the same place at the same time.
You mentioned some words there: retribution, anger. I can only speak about myself. I have those traits in me. And when people do bad things to me, which you know my journey as a historic car racer, female in a man's world, and all the shit show of that, right? I have a delayed reaction when things happen to me out of shock and trauma. And it takes me often, I've noticed, years to connect with the feeling of what actually happened to me. I've had death threats, near-death experiences, stalkers, you've seen the letters, blah, 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 blah. This pod's not about me right now, but I'm just saying I want to rain hell on those people at times. I have to work consistently on forgiveness and letting it go. These don't come naturally to me. What I love about you, what I've always admired about your energy and who you are as a person is your calm. Is something, you've always been this energy, always, since I've known you. Very calm, very logical. You've been able to remove yourself and have space from emotions. So I'm amazed hearing that reply to that question, that you didn't have those feelings, which I feel are very primal and totally justified. That's transcendent shit to me, dude. Who are you really? I mean, to not want to rage.
Yeah, I suppose in light of that, a lot of the time that probably are things that I had to deal with over the last couple of years is the sense that a lot of inner resentments and self-questionability and potential anger I used to turn internal as a way to process it. Often enough, that energy was misplaced and came out in a set of characteristics which can only be described as maladaptive coping mechanisms. So potentially as a result, the things that people would have seen as someone regulated, balanced, and managing themselves adequately could have been a very different story under the surface, which thankfully I've been able to work out and leave me in a better place today. So, yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. And maybe had I not had the qualities you just spoke of, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And potentially, who knows, I could have gone off the other side of the universe. But that's life.
I kind of sometimes play out the fantasy of you doing that.
Yeah. Why not?
The lunatic in me.
Live the dream.
Oh God, I think I've escaped jails, institution, and deaths because I've got a wicked imagination that just plays out everything. Like, you're not going to go to jail for thinking about robbing a bank, right? Thank God.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The heavy questions. I had goosebumps the whole time. Like, just the fear. Like the fear of going there. The fear of going there. And again, look at you. Calm. Amazing. This is the quality you need to be like a 3-time Tour de France rider, guys. Like, it was, I liked BMXs, but it was never going to happen for me, mate.
Hit up the BMX. Hands down, like they shred. You want some sick footage.
Yeah.
Or just epic. The flavor. Just the apparatus. And the streetwear.
Oh,
Fuck.
it's so good.
So good. Like 80s, straight out. Best shit ever.
All right, so Mossy. In your interview with Ryan Gonsalves earlier in the year, Second Wind, that podcast, which I really enjoyed, shout out Ryan.
Yeah.
You said something. Well, you say a lot of things that really hit hard for me. But you said, I was attempting to uphold a shield to the discomfort I was in, but that shield got too heavy. And I was placing the shield up through the fear that I wouldn't be capable to perform the way I had previously. And in a world I knew to be cutthroat, and you knew to be performance-based because it has to be that way. If I wasn't able to do the things that I was there to do, I had to hide behind a mask of everything will be just fine and I'll be back in a few weeks, when in fact that wasn't going to be possible. So that was your quote. In some of these interviews, you mentioned the solitude, right? So the shield, the mask, the solitude, the removal from self, right? Even in the middle of the Giro peloton, you spoke of these feelings. Do you think that same kind of invisibility, fear, isolation, or aloneness crept back during your recovery? And if so, did it feel different? Did it feel different in the recovery setting when there's no cameras, no team boss, no spectators, mad as a cut snake as they are? I've watched the footage. I've watched TDS like 5 lunatics. Without all that noise there, did you feel those kind of feelings came back in recovery?
Yeah, there's a stark difference between solitude and escapism, because in my perspective, in my, I suppose you'd say experience, particularly through endurance sports, you get a sense of pure solitude, whether it be the environment you're in, the total absorption in the atmosphere. You can be surrounded by millions of people, cameras, other athletes, whatnot, the noise, and it be completely silent.
That's, wow.
You quite literally slip into the different zone, and having the capability to perform at that level is just a byproduct, like a residual effect to the placement of the skill, the craft, and the environment that you're situated in. And I suppose through repetition and the different neurological pathways that get activated through this, it becomes second nature. And as I was saying to Ryan earlier in the year, that shield or mask is only there as a protective mechanism when the body is going through the adaptation to the different phases, because there's so much of that in sport and in life. You're always in these transitional moments which provide friction. But when you get so used to putting the shield up and things aren't going right all the time, it becomes heavy, and the density of the shield starts to drag you down. And there's a threshold to that. And when it cracks, you're like, fuck. Now I'm naked. So you're then vulnerable. And when the things attacking you are remorseless and quite foreign conceptually, you know, it's a downward trajectory. And people need to find resolutions to this.
That's such a powerful and poetic, in true Moss style analogy. You have a way to describe the feeling in such a beautiful, powerful, eloquent way. It's a real gift. To translate that feeling into your recovery. And your recovery has been across many years, if not a decade. We'll get into it a bit more. Did you wear that shield in recovery spaces, places, and around faces?
Yeah, definitely. I spoke to it just the other day. There was an evening and I was speaking to basically the people or others I'd invited to tell my story to. And during the interview was asked about my happiness and the imagery of my smiling previously as opposed to now, and the validity to my facial transparency. And I said to the interviewer, Mike Tomoaris, I said, Mike, for years I've been so fucking good at smiling when I actually haven't meant it at all, and been so good at it. I could have fooled anyone, even fooled myself. That's the danger of it.
I just got mad goosebumps, bro.
Because when you get so good at, you know, hiding behind your own mask, you tend to believe yourself. Very, very dangerous.
Ain't that the truth? I share that quality with you. Everyone's always said, Dom's always smiling, always happy, always bouncing around. Little do they know, the inner world is absolute darkness and chaos. My internal world is. You mentioned happiness, right? I almost think happiness doesn't really exist. People go, what do you mean? I'm like, oh, happiness is a fleeting moment. Like, have a chocolate, eat it. Happiness for a minute, gone. What I'm seeking now, which I think we've spoken about, as I'm in recovery as well, I work a 12-step program. I'm hunting, wrong word, I'm seeking inner peace. I don't want happiness. Happiness, I know, is a fleeting, slippery fish. Inner peace, man, now that's something to try and cultivate within. Sorry, I just hijacked that, didn't I? All right, before I ask the next question, I just thought something fun, being a therapist. I got us a little sensory toy. It's a gift for you. I know your brother might want one.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually a cheeky callback to quite a horrific day that we shared together. Where
Really?
I got a glimpse into your inner world.
Ooh,
What is it?
sushi.
It's sushi. ASMR. What color would you like? And I'll chuck it to you.
Black.
Oh, Ozzy Osbourne, Prince of Darkness. Oh my God, you ready? Oh, what color should I have, Mossy? Okay, I told you. Sparkle. Center punch and sparkle. We'll talk more about that. Maybe on a different pod. All right, this is fun. Do you know why I've given you a little sensory toy in this moment?
Distraction.
Yeah.
Really?
I'm going to try not to go too hard in my next question because I love you dearly and you love me and you know that maybe I can go there. Oh,
You can't blow the bag.
oh my God. I feel like you've got my inner brain, Dom Dark. I've got you. Like this is like the lightness of you, Mossy, whereas I'm like, like a bat. Okay, so from 2014, at 31 years of age, you disappeared from public sight. Understandably, managing your rehabilitation back home in Australia. You then essentially vanished from the public eye until re-emerging to the press in 2019, aged 35. I printed it out. You know I love the media. Interviewed by Sophie Smith. It's actually a beautiful interview, right?
Oh, yeah.
She did a beautiful job. Shout out, Soph. Don't know you. Life seemed good for you. Before I get into the quote, right, it's actually a beautiful piece on you. And there is a photo of you in the hospital bed in Utah, which is confronting. I just want to go in there and just hug the shit out of you. Like I'm moved. When I see that photo, I'm very moved because it's all about me, isn't it, Moss? It's all about how Dom feels. You say this, 2019. We're here for a good time, not a long time. And that sums it up. In an ideal world, I would still be out there racing this year, considering what did unfold, being still alive and looking forward to another chapter in my life. He says, I'm pretty stoked with it all. So, because I'm in a 12-step program and I'm in recovery, and one of the principles I live by now is honesty about my life, right? It's one of my spiritual principles. And being honest with others, right? Something I've never really done. I've worn a mask, people pleaser, made sure everyone else is comfortable and don't worry about how I feel. Fuck off, you know? So as one of your best mates, of course, I read this media piece. I was sitting back when this came out. So I can sit here today, Mossy, and tell you straight to your face that that was bullshit and that was a flat out lie. That was bullshit and that was a lie. So I'm reading this going, what the fuck, right? I was witness to the reality of your life in these years. All right, so let's call it. Got your squishy toy. Between 2015 and 2024, you were in roughly 6 to 7 private health addictive programs and a string of romantic relationships. I call this your sex, drugs, and rock and roll era, which really this news article, we can get rid of it. Sorry, Sophie. Call you out on that one. You had no idea, babe, what was really happening in this boy's life. Do you want to talk about that time?
Yeah. I think with reference to the complete absorption of addiction and the way it encapsulates or covers all aspects of your life, whether it be the media, particularly ones close to me like Sophie has been throughout the entirety of my time in the sport.
Oh, so you've had a media relationship with Sophie.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't know
And
that.
The thing was that it speaks volumes to the characteristic traits of the addictive behavior patterns.
Yeah.
Because you can falsify anything and make yourself feel really good, and be shrouded by complete bullshit and lies. And a lot of it is fictitious, and it's momentary, fleeting attempts at satisfaction, which never last. And you can be led by this and fall victim to it, and let it pretty much dominate your entire lifestyle. And at that point in time, that's exactly what I was doing, to the degree in which being interviewed by not just Sophie, but friends and close relatives about my inner sense of feeling and attachment to self. And not even reaching the capacity to tell others or tell myself how I was actually doing. It was just only a matter of time before the debris caught up to the situation itself.
I didn't know what to do. I was totally out of my depth. I was in my own massive struggle, had my own struggles, which a lot of my friends knew nothing about. When I released a documentary to the SBS over 10 years ago, talking about a bit of my background and everything like that, people were like, oh, fuck, we had no idea, Dom. Yeah, that smile, that happy face, bouncing around, everything's okay. So I get that. The difference is I saw firsthand what you were up to. Do you remember that day?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Can I talk about that day?
Go as deep as you want.
So you were in St Kilda.
Mm-hmm.
I can't pin the year. We can work that out. And I wanted to come over and hang out with you. So you're like, yeah, come over, in your mossy way. So I went to the apartment that you were in St Kilda, knocked on the door. You came in and opened it, and I walked in and everything seemed okay. You seemed a bit kind of spacey, but not, I don't know, you were a bit like evasive, right? I couldn't really see your face. So I go in, typical boy, right? Place is in fucking shambles. Okay, so that's cool. That part didn't alarm me. I was just, and me being, caretaker, have been caretaker in my life to family members and things like that. I swoop in and I'm like, Marty, I'm just going to do a quick clean of the pad for you. I just had to. So when I go to the kitchen, there's fucking chocolate wrappers everywhere and there's wine boxes and it's like you've had a massive party. So I open up under the sink under the cupboard is, where the trash can lives, and literally a tsunami of wine bottles, right? And you just piss yourself laughing, wander off and go lie in repose on your bed. Now I know that you were Pac-Manning all sorts of shit, so you were on another planet. But I didn't know that. So I say to you casually, putting all the wine bottles in. So, I didn't know that you were having parties and, I would have loved to have come along. And you were like, oh, I wouldn't really have said, parties. Just, just been, you were partying by yourself. So one trash bag out, go back in for another. This is all wine, like clink, clunk, clink, 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 going down the apartment. Then we go out to St Kilda. And mate, you were on another planet. And me, being me and my battles with addictions, and yes, that includes heavy alcoholism. Alcohol is a drug, and all sorts of other stuff that I'll just disclose at some point in my life. I realized in that moment that if I joined the carousel of madness with you, it's a fucking double whammy circus in broad daylight in St Kilda, and who knows where we're going to end up. And this is at least, I don't know, 7-10 years on in our friendship, right? Knowing our capabilities to go hard, go home. So you're fucking on another planet. And then we're just buying things. And I felt bad. You bought me a trucker hat. I let you buy me a trucker hat. I shouldn't have let you in that moment, because it's like, I should have recognized, like, I should not let this man spend any money on me. Like, I'm taking advantage of him. But yeah, I'll let you buy me the trucker hat. I think it was my birthday, actually, or something anyway. Then we go to have sushi together. Pretty sure it was just bottles of sake and wine that was ordered in broad daylight. And I'm like, well, he's the athlete. He knows, but I'm not going to tell a TDF rider what to have or have not. And it was just game on. And I was just like, what the fuck, man? Like, how is he surviving with all of this? And then I went home that day a little bit shell-shocked, also, probably fucking drunk myself. Not really sure at that point what to do. But the red flag was out and the alarm bells were ringing, and it was just like, I had no idea about addiction then. Although I'd been through it with friends. I'd lost at least 10 friends to ODs. Right. And other things that I can't publicly disclose, right? But it was you're like this athlete. And it was so jarring to me that I think I was like one of those people in my first question. Didn't have a roadmap for that. Just checked out, And this was just one day. This is just one of your days. How many days were you having like that, Mossy?
Day to day to day. Which is the interesting thing, because the threshold is obliterated. There is no parameters. The mindset that you have as an athlete to go beyond all limitations is then translated into the alcoholism, the drug abuse, which amplifies the risk factors, the unknowing, the ramifications. And, just by fortune, that was one of the days in which I was able to get away with it. I still remember buying the hat. It was blue, white and red. Specificities don't elude me, but all the while, I had no fucking idea what planet I was on. And that was the module that I was in, continually operating, doing things somewhat normally to make others seem as if I was managing myself, but wasn't. It's just a story of complete destruction. And to only look at the time span spent in that zone, and to have the fortune to have people like yourself and my family around and close friends to sustain my life in the core sense of being is remarkable. So yeah,
but in this moment now, you've just I've had an aha moment, like a bit of an epiphany. You had that shield on in active addiction. It was impenetrable. As a friend, when your friend is a superstar a national icon, a world icon, right? How many TDF riders are there in history? Not many. Who am I to tell you what to do? Who am I? Because as far as I'm concerned, like, you're like this God, you know?
That's where the line must be drawn, because you have the permission. You have the permission. It might not feel that way, but we must give ourselves the right to hold others accountable for their own behaviours. Had that not been the case with me, the people closest to me telling me that I needed as a requirement of existence to recognise and accept for myself that what I was doing was not on. That was my responsibility. Called out by others, I had to accept that. So it really, really does rely on the togetherness of people's relationships, reaching out to other people in order to stimulate that friction, that agitation, which is probably the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
But has to be done at some point.
You've hit a nail on the head, and just reflecting on why I don't think you were accessible. I think I try and take myself back to that time. I was raising alarm bells, at least to your significant other, which that wasn't on the cards that particular day, that relationship, but it was ultimately brewing, right? But I had no words for my feelings at that point in my life. I'm 40 now. It's only been in the last 2 years that I've come out and I have words. I have access to my emotions through studying psychology, through getting that degree, through becoming a counsellor, through now being in recovery and working 12-step programs. I feel very comfortable to talk about my feelings, but I didn't have access to them in my 20s, even my early 30s. And you know about my history as a teenager. I had lost about 10 people to ODs, and I had started car racing in my early to mid-20s to get away from that world, only to find myself in another fucking playground of drugs and alcohol, except they're millionaires, you know. They're not just, you know, broke musos that I used to date. But I'm so fucking sorry that I didn't speak up. I'm sorry that I was too frightened and lost in my own shit. I wasn't better than you. I might have felt like I was, and I probably fucking tried to raise a red flag about you, but people should have been raising the red flag about me, but I was much more of a double life, way more secretive about it, right? I think there were times in our friendship that I just couldn't cope, so I checked out. And that's really hard. But here we are today. Dom, it's all good. We're back on track. But it's, you know, in these moments right now, having this conversation and sharing it publicly with the world. And hopefully it helps other people that if you can just fucking hang on, right? We're in our 40s now. It gets better, but it requires discipline. It requires honesty. It requires doing the work. And I'm so fucking proud of you because you're my guiding light in recovery because you're down the line, you're further down the line. And wow, you're a beacon of hope, man. Like, you are helping other people already. You've helped me immensely. You know my story. Fuck, that was a lot. Sorry. I fucking need sushi.
As people need to get across eventually the juxtaposition between the emotional world, the consequences or fears that we have with those closest to us primarily, but in a general sense for the community, this apprehension to not give others the reality check. Because if you sense that others who are close to you are on the limit, they should take it as a blessing that you're asking the question, because it is coming from care and concern and love a lot of the time. It's not so much you wanting to beat down on them. You're coming at them from a perception of, condescension. It's because you care about, where people are at. It's like you cared and love for my position enough to show that you have that within yourself, and that lives through to this point in time. And, had I been in the position optimistically back in the day when I was in a different universe, then I would have been the first person to tell you, really? Is that the way you see yourself managing yourself?
But I gave you that invite. I suppose I wore my trauma Ibiza slippers here and I called you. And you just were like, it's okay, just come home. Now I reflect on it, you're probably Pac-Manning some ultra stuff, but you were amazing. You answered that call, you were there, but we were not calling each other on our shit, man.
Yeah, and that speaks to the fact that, the people that we reach out to often enough aren't in the position themselves to reflect the correct information that's needed. We surround ourselves with people of like-minded tendencies. Often enough, that's a problem with addictive behaviours, because you associate with people who are often enough, doing the same things.
Birds of a feather.
Exactly. So apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And case-by-case scenario suggests that, they're not probably the best people to give out advice. But having said that, there are, countless people with valid lived experience.
Yes.
And often enough, they're the best opinion-based, evidentiary people and places to go to.
Thank you for saying that, because I'm a theory girl. I'm in my best academic era right now. I'm about to embark on my 4th year of psych. I want to be a doctor. I also want to do psychoanalysis, right? Give me the theory and I'll launch into the literature, right? I love it. But the best thing about a 12-step program is all that shit goes out the window. It's about taking action, about being accountable, about honesty. This program works so much for me that I want to scream it from the rooftops, but I'm not going to. That's not what we do. You can't save people. It's really hard. So this is the next conversation to have, I hope, between you and I on another pod, right? I'd really love to delve a bit more into it and park it. We can carry the message, but we can't carry the addict. So how the hell do you help someone? How the hell do you lift someone out of the gutter, so to speak? How do you help someone out of the gutter, but also not feel like you're just popping them off into care somewhere and not abandoning ship, because you actually can't take it on. You can't hold someone's hand the whole way through. So this is really hard. You want to help, but you can't drown yourself. So what have you learned with your career? What skills have you learned that you're bringing across to helping other people?
I think one thing, hands down, is the cornerstone of everything that I've learnt to do from throughout my childhood up until this point now. Through the good, the bad, the ugly, the gutter, is leading by example. Because once you set the standard for yourself, then others will follow accordingly. And if you're doing the very best and you're doing the good thing, others will follow in the best way possible. And if they don't, you can adjust because people are malleable. And if they're willing to give themselves to adjust for the better, then the level will be raised.
And you are living, walking proof of that, Mossy, because you've brought all that stuff that was so deep and private into the public eye with who you are today. There's no fucking masks anymore. There's none of this painted on Joker face that we're almost professionals at. How do you feel living now at like that unification of self, like so totally?
Yeah, I feel vibrant
Ooh.
and
Love that.
and strong. Yeah, it's just a complete juxtaposition between fear and avoidance. I think to be open with oneself is to be vulnerable, but in that vulnerability comes the room for maneuverability and growth. So the experience, while challenging at times, it's probably been the best thing possible for me to go through. And you have to live by that, because if you don't, then you're in the wrong life.
You're in the wrong life. Better luck next time. But you're right. It's beautiful. I mean, so much to say. Like, my brain is going 100 miles an hour as it does. And, you know, I don't like to put labels on shit. Some psychologist I'll be like, DSM-5, yeah, got it. Yeah, park that label. Just sit down in front of me and tell me how the fuck you are today. I'm not going to be that popular, am I? So that brings me to 2024 last year, when you decided to go into a rehabilitation facility for a view of it being 6 months, like the program. What happened at the end of 2023 for you to wind up in a longer rehab stay? What happened then?
Well, it had been like continually getting thrown out of the catapult into the gutter and anticipating friends and family to pick me up. And interestingly enough, there was one afternoon in which I'd been training someone down on the peninsula and gotten back, went to the bottle shop, picked up a couple of bottles of red wine or something like that, and went out to dinner and didn't quite make it to the venue. And to be standing there outside and failing to speak or even move.
Shit.
I was taken back home by closest friends, and my brother was there. Mum and Dad came over, and everyone sort of agreed. It wasn't so much an intervention, but the decision was made that something needed to be done, because things would continue unfolding, like getting picked up by the same police officer who'd picked me up next to the train station a year beforehand and recognising him and saying, "Oh, I remember you." He said, "Yeah, I picked you up last year." So I started to piece things together and say to myself, well, there comes a time in which things need to change. And that was after countless times in the hospital, just waking up or being woken up. And it was like being in a body and not existing at the same time. So I decided to do a 4 to 6 week program in order to allocate where I was going to go for the long-term residential rehabilitation stay. somewhere, just anywhere, was open to recommendations, things like that. It just so happened to find the right one. And throughout the process, initially, instead of doing the normal thing that I do in a private rehabilitation environment and to tell myself that, everything will be cool, I'll finish this program and just get out in 4 weeks and the world will be fine. I said to myself, no, not this time. Wherever I go, whatever I do, I'm going to make things right. That level of acceptance was reached before going to the facility itself.
Interesting.
Which is a major barrier for a lot of people because they throw themselves into or are thrown into rehabilitation environments and haven't reached that point of acceptance. But I said to myself beforehand, whether it was my sporting brain, my upbringing, the sense of requirement to do so, that this needed to be done, and whatever was going to get in my way was not going to get into my way. I was going to thrive and succeed through doing this and make it 101% possible. And throughout the process, what I realised was that nothing could take any more time than what was required to do so. And that involved me reaching the 6 month point and being encouraged to formally finish the pre-designed program time, which might I mention in brackets probably gave some of the staff the shits because they had someone hanging around far longer than the required time.
But what a cool housemate to have.
Exactly. So
did they get really fit in the process?
No.
Designing programs?
One thing that I managed to I didn't distribute my resources in that avenue. But what I did do was go through my chronological timeline, and according to the program, was able to significantly identify and understand my behavioural characteristics, which throughout time had led to my downfall, and change those behaviours.
Mm-hmm.
And as laborious as it sounds and seems, particularly to the outsider, when you are in an addictive pattern of behaviours, the smallest things and the incremental changes required to address those lifestyle habits are the fundamentals to everything. And being able and capable to address those things changes your life around, because the things that are significant are relatively non-eventful. They're seemingly significant because they mean so much to you to do this thing or that thing. But in the broader scope, they mean fuck all. The connection with others, the livelihood that you get through interconnectedness, all those characteristics become crucial. And with that in mind, you get the time to reflect for yourself. And the rudimentary processes that are just a requirement to adhere to and to stick by don't seem so mundane anymore. There's obviously the risk to become institutionalized through that type of environment.
Were you scared of that?
No. No, because you tend to rely on things.
You surrendered is what I'm gathering, like totally.
Because you have to reach the the point of humility and acceptance that you're there for a reason. And in order to get your life right and to make significant adjustments to be better in yourself and better for the world, that for all intents and purposes, they're the right things to do. And sort of looking at it from a duality perspective, I took the outside world as knowing what the outside world is, because it's hard, it's gritty, it's rough, and the gutter's always there. So to do these things bit by bit, take my time, just for a year, as long as it takes, I couldn't give a fuck. I was there for me to make the best possibilities out of myself and for others in the community, which optimistically I did. And I'll continue to do from this point on, because there's so many possibilities out there, and the people that I found came into the place provided me with so much, and they too were from the gutter. They too were from, domestic violence situations. They too were from incarceration. All kinds and all types.
Yeah.
And that adaptability and that, methodology to change and to accept others for who they are really opens your eyes to the possibilities for everyone, not just for the self. So there was lessons to be learned in that place, and it wouldn't have mattered what life experience I had at the world level, from the gutter, wherever I was from. They were prepared to take me in and to show me the right way forward, which was a huge, huge step for me and for others throughout the community in there, which was really cool.
So much more than cool. Thank God, Moss, that you dropped that shield.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful. We have so many years ahead in front of us. We have another podcast full of questions that we haven't gotten around to today, and I'm comfortable with that. But I did want to leave on one little thing just to ponder for the next pod, because we're going to go into some more sports psychology stuff, a bit more recovery stuff. We're just going to let it flow a little bit more in a second podcast, which I'm super excited to do with you. I'd love your thoughts on this. Camille Herron, one of the greatest endurance athletes of all time, Instagram handle is Run Camille, is super fascinating to me. She's an ultra marathoner who has won world championships and shattered more than a dozen world records from 50 miles to 6 days. After recognizing patterns and traits, she was officially diagnosed with autism and ADHD in 2024 and speaks confidently and openly about this as she's raising awareness. And she's advocating for inclusivity in the sport. She's happy to label herself. Her husband helped with this pattern recognition too. Interesting. She recently wrote on her Instagram, this is the quote, "I don't feel limits. My brain doesn't process pain or fatigue like most people. I now understand that this is tied to being autistic. People talk about the pain cave, but I don't relate to this. I imagine a cave as literally being a limit. This is not how my mind works. For me, it's more like shoot for the moon, or really, the stars. I imagine being limitless and pushing to a near state death. Stay conscious." Mic drop. I've got goosebumps all over my body. Holy fuck, man. We're on the precipice, I think, of potentially more high-profile elite athletes stepping forward and confidently saying, I've received a diagnosis of this, and this is my magic button, right? The thing that not many people have been able to put into words, the pain cave. How does that make you feel? And can you identify with her, not on the diagnosis stuff, but that feeling that she has?
It's definitely recognizable for people in the extreme tier to have another layer to them. And to them, it's not another layer because there's no recognizable threshold. Whether that's the anterior midcircular cortex being so formulated and big because of what they have as a condition, or whether it's just a mindset thing, it's not the diagnosis that defines them. It's just that sense of limitlessness. And some people really, really do have it. I think throughout my career and just watching others in sort of elite spheres, whether it be sports people, business people, people working on farms, throughout life in its entirety, there's people who just operate on a different level. For them, it's not recognisable, but their performance and output is just staggeringly above everyone else's. And it's beautiful to watch. I think through recognising the outputs of the totality of all participants, particularly in sports, because it's all quite measurable, we'll be able to see who sits within those parameters.
You mean, sorry, just to clarify, data?
Yeah.
Something that you never liked, which we can talk about in the next pod too. Data.
Spare me. But I think it's brilliant because there's no significant regulatory process that designs these outcomes. It's just a natural set of circumstances that lead to these performances of brilliance, and to acknowledge, herself and others in that position is remarkable. So, yeah, I think it's fantastic.
It's human glory at its best, and I see it in artists and creatives as well.
Yeah.
Matthew Lloyd, Moss, as we love you and adore you, we're all so excited to watch the next chapter of Moss unfold. We're so fucking grateful you dropped the shield. I can talk on behalf of your fans across the world. And we're all rooting for you, man. And it's just been an honor to have you here. Thank you so much for your time, your openness, your willingness to discuss very private but now public knowledge. Thank you so much for sharing this moment with me.
Thank you, Dom.
See you next time.